Have you ever wondered what alcohol really does to your body and brain? Even that drink that seems harmless can cause profound damage that doesn't disappear with the hangover. What no one tells you is that even moderate alcohol consumption affects your brain, mood, and even your long-term health. In this video, I'll show you how alcohol impacts your mind and body, even when you think you're in control. Ready to discover the truth? When thinking about the impact of alcohol on the human body, the first image that comes to mind is that of a social and harmless drink. However, what many don't know is that even small amounts can deeply affect the brain and liver, two of the most important organs in the body. Alcohol, even when consumed moderately, starts to cause damage to the neocortex, the area of the brain responsible for our higher behavior, like memory and decision-making. An occasional glass of wine may seem innocent, but in the long run, essential brain functions can be subtly but significantly impaired. And the liver? By this point, it's already working overtime to process the alcohol, trying to convert this substance into something the body can discard. However, this process doesn't come without a cost. Over time, liver cells deteriorate, and problems like fatty liver and, in more severe cases, cirrhosis arise. Now imagine someone who believes that social drinking doesn't bring significant consequences. This person may be unknowingly undermining their health day by day. The human body has incredible resilience, but there are limits, and once exceeded, they leave deep marks. The issue is that many of these changes in the brain and body occur gradually. It's almost like that old saying, "Water dripping day by day wears the hardest rock away." A person starts with a drink here and another there until suddenly they face memory lapses, irritability, and persistent fatigue that doesn't go away even after a good night's sleep. All these are signs that the body is beginning to succumb to the constant wear and tear imposed by alcohol. Some may say, "Oh, but it's just a beer on the weekend." And that's where the danger lies. The accumulation of small doses over time is like a slow poison, corroding crucial functions. Think about how this reflects in day-to-day interactions. Who hasn't found themselves forgetting where they left their keys or having a slow response in an important meeting? Small failures that may be directly linked to moderate alcohol consumption. Finally, it's essential to reflect. How far is it worth compromising something as valuable as mental and physical health? The impact of alcohol goes far beyond what is seen on the surface. And as we'll see later, the effects on the brain are even deeper than imagined. After all, is moderate drinking really safe? Many people believe that moderate drinking is harmless, even a healthy practice, as if 1 or 2 drinks a day were a remedy. However, studies show that this idea is far from reality. Even consumption considered low or moderate can lead to significant brain degeneration. This happens because both the white matter and gray matter, essential parts of our brain, are directly affected by alcohol. Therefore, even those who limit themselves to 1 glass of wine or a beer a day are actually compromising brain function. Imagine a person who follows this logic, believing that 1 drink a day will help them relax and keep stress under control. They might even feel this effect in the short term, but in the long term, studies show that the brain begins to suffer. The reduction of white matter directly affects communication between different areas of the brain, decreasing mental agility. Gray matter, on the other hand, responsible for processing and controlling information, also suffers, leading to difficulties with memory and concentration. These impacts are silent but constant. When the brain starts to degenerate, it's not immediately noticeable. The signs appear gradually, like memory lapses that seem innocent or greater difficulty in making complex decisions. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you couldn't remember the name of a person you just met? This could be a reflection of how alcohol, even in small amounts, affects our brain in ways we don't notice until it's too late. The situation becomes even more critical when we think about how many people make moderate drinking a daily routine. It's a socially accepted, almost encouraged practice. Who hasn't heard that a glass of wine is good for the heart? But few mention that this same glass, consumed every day, is corroding brain structures in a progressive way. While many focus on cardiovascular health, they forget about the most complex and vital organ they have, the brain. And if it already seems worrying, it's important to remember that we're only just beginning to explore the real impacts of alcohol on the brain. The effects go beyond mere physical degeneration, altering even the way our neural networks connect. We'll talk more about this later. With chronic alcohol consumption, the brain literally begins to reorganize itself. It's as if it tries to adapt to the constant assaults of alcohol, but at a high cost. What happens is a reconfiguration of neural circuits, making a person more impulsive and less able to control habits and behaviors. This isn't something noticed overnight. It's a gradual change that transforms how we react to everyday situations, influencing even our simplest decisions. Imagine a person who always has 1 or 2 drinks after work to relax. The brain, becoming accustomed to this routine, begins to associate alcohol with stress relief, pleasure, or even reward. Over time, this person may find that, without even realizing it, they're drinking more frequently or in greater quantities, as if the brain had conditioned the habit. This cycle of reward and habit is dangerous because once established, it's hard to break. It can even affect how this person deals with other aspects of life, like work or relationships. Alcohol not only messes with the brain in the short term, but also deeply alters the circuits involved in decision-making and self-control. Over time, these circuits become lazy, and the person becomes more prone to act on impulse. You know that idea of doing something without thinking in the heat of the moment? Alcohol amplifies that. The person loses the ability to reflect before acting, which can lead to risky behaviors and decisions they'll regret later. Now, the positive side is that if the person stops consuming alcohol, some of these changes can be reversed. The brain has an incredible ability to regenerate, and over time, these circuits can return to normal. This doesn't happen overnight, but it's possible. For those trying to change this behavior, activities like meditation, for example, can help restore balance and strengthen neural networks again. But it's important to note that alcohol doesn't affect everyone the same way, and some factors like genetics can make certain individuals more vulnerable to these impacts, and that's exactly what we'll discuss next. The influence of genetics on alcoholism is often overlooked, but plays a crucial role in a person's risk of developing this condition. Some people have a genetic predisposition that alters the way alcohol affects their body and mind. For some, a simple drink triggers a sense of euphoria and well-being that makes them want to keep drinking, while others may feel the opposite, with discomfort and aversion. Those who experience an increase in energy and good mood right after drinking are actually more vulnerable to developing addiction. Let's think of a practical example. 2 people drink together. One feels relaxed and comfortable, while the other seems to gain uncontrollable energy, becoming more talkative and euphoric. The first may be able to keep their consumption controlled, while the second, experiencing such a strong reward, may end up drinking more and more. This difference is rooted in each person's genes, shaping how alcohol is metabolized and how it affects the brain. This explains why some people seem to have an easier time stopping drinking, while others struggle daily with the urge to consume more. These genetic factors also affect a person's ability to deal with alcohol in the long run. If someone in your family has a history of alcoholism, it's important to pay attention to your own consumption because the predisposition may be present. While genetics don't determine anyone's destiny, they certainly put some people on a riskier path. Therefore, if you know you have a family tendency, it's wise to take preventive measures, such as limiting consumption or seeking alternatives that provide pleasure without the risks of alcohol. Another interesting point is how genetics can also influence recovery. Some people recover more quickly from the damage caused by alcohol, while others struggle for years with persistent health problems even after quitting. This makes us wonder, is it really worth the risk? Knowing that genes can increase vulnerability to alcoholism makes the decision to drink, even moderately, all the more delicate. This genetic connection shows us that alcohol is not as simple a substance as it seems. And as we'll see next, the effects go beyond immediate consumption, affecting even how our body deals with the effects the next day. the infamous hangover. For many, a hangover is the price to pay for a night of fun. However, what many don't realize is that this discomfort goes far beyond a simple headache. Alcohol disrupts the sleep cycle, impairs cellular recovery, and releases toxins in the body that cause inflammation. During the night, while you're trying to sleep, your body is actually fighting to process the alcohol, explaining the fragmented sleep and extreme fatigue the next day. It's as if the body is screaming for help while you're trying to ignore it. Now, it's curious how many resort to the famous hangover cure known as hair of the dog, meaning drinking a little more alcohol to relieve the symptoms. This method, as popular as it is entirely counterproductive. What happens is that by consuming more alcohol, you're merely delaying the recovery process and dumping more toxins into the body. Instead of helping, this only worsens the situation in the long run. The best way to deal with a hangover is simple: hydration, healthy food, and rest. Consuming foods rich in electrolytes like coconut water and fruits helps rebalance the body. It's interesting to note that the impact of a hangover isn't just physical, but also mental. Who hasn't woken up hungover with a sense of guilt or anxiety? This happens because alcohol alters levels of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, creating a low effect on mood. For many, the day after a night of drinking is marked by mental fog, difficulty concentrating, and irritability. These psychological effects can last longer than the physical symptoms, making a hangover an experience that affects both body and mind. If the idea is to speed up recovery, in addition to hydrating, a recommended practice is to consume fermented foods like kefir, kombucha, or probiotic yogurts. These foods help restore the gut flora, which is also harmed by alcohol. The connection between the gut and the brain is powerful, and when we take care of one, the other benefits as well. But of course, this only helps to mitigate the damage. The ideal is to avoid excessive consumption that causes the hangover in the first place. Recovering from a hangover is a reminder that the body is always seeking to rebalance. And if alcohol affects the body this much in the short term, imagine what it does to the body and mind in the long run. Let's explore this more deeply next. The impact of alcohol goes far beyond what you feel in your head or liver. There is an invisible but extremely powerful connection between the gut, brain, and liver, called the gut-brain-liver axis. When someone drinks, the alcohol begins to destabilize the gut microbiome, that colony of bacteria that helps keep digestive health and the immune system in balance. Once the balance of these bacteria is destroyed, the body enters an inflammatory state. And this inflammation isn't limited to the gut. It spreads, affecting the liver and even the brain. Imagine that the gut works as a line of defense. When healthy, it prevents toxins and harmful substances from circulating freely throughout the body. But with alcohol consumption, this barrier begins to fail, allowing inflammation and toxins to reach the liver. The liver, in turn, is already overloaded processing the alcohol, creating a vicious cycle of damage. In the long run, this can lead to chronic health problems like liver disease and neurological disorders. But there are ways to help reverse this damage. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, or kombucha can be valuable allies in restoring the microbiome balance. These foods are rich in probiotics, good bacteria that help rebuild the gut ecosystem. By improving gut health, it's possible to reduce inflammation in the body and even improve mood, as the gut also plays an important role in the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin. Small changes in diet can bring great benefits. Additionally, it's important to emphasize that the gut-brain-liver axis is deeply linked to our emotional state. When the gut isn't functioning well, the chances of developing symptoms like anxiety or depression increase. Alcohol exacerbates these problems by destroying gut flora and increasing inflammation levels in the body. Therefore, taking care of the gut is one of the best ways to take care of the brain and liver, thus preventing a series of health issues. The impact of alcohol on the body is much deeper than imagined, and this link between the gut, brain, and liver is proof of that. However, the damage doesn't stop there. Alcohol consumption, even in moderate levels, brings other long-term risks that are even more concerning. The dangers of chronic alcohol consumption, even in amounts considered moderate, are alarming. Most people associate excessive alcohol with problems like cirrhosis or car accidents, but what few realize is that the long-term damage goes far beyond that. Alcohol deeply affects the body's stress levels, increasing the production of cortisol, the stress hormone. The result? Greater emotional instability, frequent mood swings, and a constant feeling of anxiety that seems endless. Imagine a person who drinks 1 or 2 drinks a day, believing it's harmless. What this person doesn't realize is that gradually, the alcohol is increasing their cortisol levels, making them feel more stressed over time, even without an apparent reason. This ends up creating a vicious cycle. Alcohol is consumed to relax, but in reality it's raising stress levels and worsening the problem. Mental health is compromised, and the person may not even understand why they are always anxious or irritable. In addition to stress, alcohol disrupts the body's overall balance. Over time, the immune system weakens, and people become more prone to chronic diseases like hypertension, diabetes, and even some types of cancer. Even the heart, which many believe benefits from moderate wine consumption, can be damaged over time. In other words, while the immediate sensation of alcohol may be relaxation and pleasure, the cumulative effects are devastating to long-term health. Another point worth mentioning is alcohol's impact on sleep. Drinking may make you fall asleep faster, but sleep quality is severely compromised. And poor quality sleep, repeated night after night, results in fatigue, memory problems, and difficulties concentrating. In the long run, this disrupted sleep cycle can have serious consequences, leading to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. With all these effects combined, what's left for us is to reflect. Is it worth taking so many risks? As we've seen, alcohol, even in moderate doses, is a silent enemy that gradually takes hold of the body, bringing consequences that we often only notice when it's too late. After learning what alcohol really does to your body and brain, the question remains: are you willing to keep ignoring these effects, or will you start changing your habits today? It's not too late to reverse the impact and regain your physical and mental health. What will you do with this new knowledge? Small changes can transform how you feel and think on a daily basis. How about starting now by evaluating your choices? After all, your health is worth much more than a few minutes of pleasure. If you want to keep learning how to improve your life and make healthier decisions, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Don't miss any more content that can make all the difference in your journey.